In the name of Allah, the Beneficent and Merciful, who came in the person of Master Farad Muhammad, who raised Elijah Muhammad, his messenger, prepared the way for Suleiman, the messenger of the covenant. This is Suleiman Rahim. Welcome. Let's bring in the audio audience. This is the Black Alert segment of the Fire Zone. Welcome. Brothers and sisters, this is the Resurrected Nation of Islam. The Nation of Islam is not some thing that Elijah Muhammad dreamt up. It's the eternal nation. It always has been here, will always be here. He just resurrected it from the dead. This portion of it. Nation of Islam encompasses 3 tribes. He resurrected 1. So we're going to talk about that. Before we do that, lest we forget, the Holocaust. The Holocaust. We're going to continue bringing that to your attention. We're going to not stop talking about it. It's 400 years of horror that we experience at the hands of these devils. 400 years plus. They tried to downplay it, whitewash it as slavery. Look up the definition of slavery. Does it include rape, murder, castration, sodomy, firing, burning, torture, oppression? Does it include all those things in that definition? Does it? But that's what happened. Slavery is the economic side of it. Yes, slavery exists all over the world. Slavery exists today. If you're working and you're working hard, they're paying you insufficient funds to compensate you for your work. That's a form of slavery right there. The ultimate purpose of slavery, or the ultimate achievement, is zero overhead, maximum profit. That's a capitalist dream. Because capitalism is the institution of slavery. It's the institution of slavery. Because profit, by definition, is exploitation. That means they got more from you than they gave you back. That's profit. They don't want us to look at it that way. See? They don't look at it that way. It's like usury. They want to look at it that way. But if someone is paying you for what you did, compensate you fairly, there's no profit there, is there? Because you got what you worked for. But the difference between the work that you did and which in their compensation is their profit. I mean, that's pretty simple. You say, oh, no, it's more complicated. No, it's not more complicated than that. When we get home, there will be no such thing as slavery, no such thing as capitalism, no thing as mortgages and usury and all that kind of stuff, and rent and leases. There's no such thing as that. Because you own the earth. So what are you doing renting it? What are they doing renting us any part of our creation? What they're doing putting us in prison when this is our creation. We didn't ask to come over here. Even over here is our creation. It doesn't belong to them. I mean, this whole place is horrific in every respect. Horrific economically, horrific socially, horrific politically. In every respect you can think of, this place is horrific. But they took us to 400 years plus of horror. And they want to downplay and say, well, it was slavery. No, that's the economic part of it. And that was like maybe 5% of it. 95% of 24/7, 365 horror, 400 plus times 200 million black people, some estimates, horror. Don't let them keep telling you about slavery. That's just a downplay. Like CRT, like somehow what they did to us was a theory. A theory? They're trying to downplay it. They realize they're under judgment and they're trying to talk their way out of it. Have at it. It's not going to work. Because your judge is here. The executioner is here. And you can't get rid of them because their consequence, they are the embodiment of consequence. They're the personification of consequence of what you've been doing. And you cannot destroy consequence. You can talk about Jesus' blood removes all consequence. Okay, you can believe that if you want to. We'll see. Let's move on, brothers and sisters. See here. Yeah. So we're going to talk about the God mind. The scriptures tell you in Mark and in Daniel, other places, that your mind was taken from you. Your mind was taken from you. It was relieved of your mind and made to live as a beast among beasts. It took beasts, takes beasts to make beasts. If these people were angels, they would have transformed us into angels. But they're beasts because we're their product. You can tell a lot about the manufacturer by looking at its product. And no manufacturer can make a product that's better than itself. How can it? So if we are niggers, then they must be the big niggers that produced us. Like I mentioned earlier, this is the resurrected nation of Islam. Why I say resurrected? Because your mind is about to be returned to you. It says, "True, I'll be the first begotten of the dead ones." They think that refers to Elijah Muhammad. But Elijah Muhammad was not one of the dead ones. You have to understand AL-INJIL, what that means. The dead ones were the seed of Abraham. He was not of the seed of Abraham. The scripture tell you Elijah was a Levite. He raised Levites. He did not raise seed of Abraham. He would be the first one to resurrect, and he resurrected Levites. And Master Prophet Muhammad, right? He gave them the mind. That's the lessons he gave. And that would be the mind to raise the Levites, to restore their mind to them. Because, see, your mind is your software. Your brain is your hardware. It's like Windows. Windows is a software. And you have different types of hardware. You got Apple, you got IBM, you got different types of hardware. And they run different types of software. And sometimes you can run some software on a hardware that wasn't designed for, but it's not going to run well. So they removed our software from us and installed their software. It's not running well, but it's running. That's what a Negro butt is. They reprogrammed us, took 64 years to do it, transform us into Negro butts. First ones came off the assembly line in 1619. Fully programmed to self-destruct, programmed not to ask any questions, not to make any challenges, just do what Master says. Do not think about it. Program not to think, not to ask questions. Just do what Master said, no matter what it is. Accept whatever Master says. Do not ask any questions. Do not think. And then they stamp you. And the stamping was also like a red light to let them know. It was like a light to let them know, give them some indication, right, that your program was failing. That's the name. Toby Richardson. See? It shows that was a measure, that was an indication of ownership, that you was owned by Master Richardson. So if he sold you to Master Blackstone, then your name became Toby Blackstone. It wasn't a name, it was a brand. It's also an indicator. See? Like a sensor, the indicator. Because as long as you maintain that name, they knew that you were still programmed. You was running, your program was running fine. But if that name changed, if you dropped that name, they knew right away that was indication, red light, flashing light, alarm, something's wrong, that your program was failing. And that's when the terror butts would come in. That's their children, their black-faced children, that looks like you, resemble you, wolves in sheep clothing, the chaff that was sown amongst the wheat, to come in to check you out. What's wrong with your programming, boy? Are you okay? What's your problem? You got a problem with Master? You got a problem with America? You got a problem with Christianity? They checking you. Doing a system check, system evaluation. They don't come direct ask you like that. They just come and talk to you. Hey man, you been to church lately? Hey man, you know what you think about them Muslims over there? See, ain't America great? You see, checking your programming, see if it's running okay. If they see it's not, then they have to take and start make some change, do some checks, right? Do what they call that analysis, system testing, right? Test your system, find out where the errors are, and correct them. Reboot you, get you back online. If that fails, they deactivate you. Think about what that means, and that's what happens. That's exactly what happens. So go out there and drop that name. Go out there and drop Christianity, all that BS they've been giving you. They programmed you in you. That's all bullshit, and you don't know it because you programmed not to know it, not to think about it. Because none of that stuff make any sense. It's all a lie. It's all been given to you by your enemy. Again, this is a continuation of the Resurrected Nation of Islam session from earlier today. I figured I would do it in two parts. One is, first part is talking about the mystery of the God. This is a follow-up because this is an addendum to that. Explain a few things, make it a little more clearly. Because the thing is that your mind has been taken away from you, and you don't know it. But it said it will be restored. Once restored, you won't be a Negro butt anymore. But they are doing everything they can to make sure you stay a Negro butt. And failing, that's going to get rid of you. They cannot have you restored back to factory conditions. Factory condition means the way you was made, your nature. They can't have you restored back to that. See? But they've already downloaded their operating system on you. And that's the operating system they want to run. It doesn't run absolutely well because it's against your nature. And so you're going to rebel naturally. That's why they got their terror butts. That's their children, their demon children, their black-faced children through rape, 20 years of raping our women. And they come in to terrorize you to make sure that that program runs smoothly. Because every time it gets a little bumpy here and everything, that terror gets back on track. Terrorize you. Terrorize you against massa, against yourself. Because you begin to hate yourself because you see the people that look like you are doing all these things that really massa does, but they're saying that's you because they look like you and you taking a hit for it. And they're all around you. It says half the blacks in America, right, are demons. That means 17 million. They're all around you. They're the ones you see every day. When you watch TV, that's the ones you see in sports, in politics, in broadcasting, in Hollywood. Those ones you see in Master's house. And they're constantly reinforcing your programming. See, reinforcing your programming. Love Master, obey Master, fear Master. Oh yeah, that's part of it. Because they're constantly telling you what happens to you. Those that don't fear Master, they end up dead or in prison forever. Fear Master. Right there, those prisoners there. Right there, those cops there. That's they call it whispering of a stinking devil. See, it doesn't say it directly, but it's right there so you can see. So you know in your mind, your subconscious mind, that if you don't obey Master, that's going to happen to you. You don't have to say it directly. You're going to be killed or you're going to be in prison, executed, or whatever. That's that fear that because the program, see what program won't run smoothly because it's alien to it's alien operating system. It's alien to your hardware. So you need fear to keep it on track, to keep it operating, to keep it functioning. That's what keeps that program installed and running. You take the fear out, all of a sudden, programming starts erroring, faltering, shaking, buffering. That means it's about to be, that operation is about to crash. Once it crashes, then you have to restore it back to factory conditions. So Master Muhammad is getting ready to instill a greater fear that's going to crash that operating system, crash it. And then you're going to reboot. You're going to reboot to your natural operating, to your factory conditions, the way of nature. Okay? But there's a problem here because now you reboot to your but you don't have any operating system. You have to have the proper operating system. Now you put the factory back to normal conditions. That's the hardware. Now it's not, the software is gone. So now you back to normal factory conditions. There's no software there, no operating system. So you have to reinstall operating system. You understand? It's the same process. So your operating system has to crash. This Christianity, all these lies. And now you got Farrakhan, you got Sunnism, and you got Scientology, all that kind of stuff. Is that your mind at the time? He says he's the one. He's the anointed. So is that your original mind? Scientology? Sunnism? They say the mind has to be restored. He doesn't even talk about that because he doesn't know where it is himself. Because he's operating on their mind, their operating system. They run smoothly on their brains because they got the same hardware as their daddies. That's why they talk like their daddies, act like daddies, because they run with the same operating system. But they've been programmed too because they have double operating system. They have their operating system, right? And they have this other operating system it's been modified enough, right? Because it incorporates the system. In other words, they didn't put their operating system on our. They put the operating system they created on our minds. They didn't put their operating system. They put it where they created because that's the Negro butt. The fear, the obedience, and everything. See, that's not the operating system they're operating on. They're operating a whole different operating system altogether that Dr. Yakub gave them. See, that's the sealed Bible. But they're not even operating that fully. They're not even doing everything because that's why they're declining. That's the operating system, the sealed Bible. That's the operating system. That's not the operating system they put on you. They put you a very the corrupted version of that. So the demons, they have both operating systems. See? So the primary operating system is the one, same one Master has. But the other one's there and allow them to communicate with you. Allow them to communicate with you. So they can switch off. It's like a wolf in sheep clothing, right? They have to represent two personalities. They have to represent the wolf personality, right? That's their natural personality. But when they're around sheep, they have to manifest themselves. They have to operate on the sheep programming. They have to maintain their disguise. They have to carry both programs. But your programming, like I said, you was programmed to self-destruct, obey Master, do whatever Master says. Don't think, don't ask questions, do not challenge anything Master's told you. It's totally against you. But the only thing that keep it installed and operating is fear. But Master Muhammad is going to put a greater fear that's going to short circuit that programming, going to fail, going to crash. Then you're going to revert back to conditions, your natural nature, and then you will need new software. And that's the angel or revelations. That is your mind, brothers and sisters. That is your mind. They don't want you to know. They tell you, oh, well, it's giving you, telling you this what it means, that what it means. They don't know. It's like a plug-in. Their version of it like a plug-in, but it's not the software. It's not the operating system. It's like a plug-in, and it's all screwed up. But it's designed to keep you confused. All that has to be erased. Old memory has to be erased. A new operating system has to be installed. That's what's going to happen. The God mind. The God mind. Because the angel is the God mind. It's the God of it's the mind of the 25th scientist. That's why he's the one that has to be present to give you your mind. Because other scientists could not give you your mind back. Because you'd be given a God mind, not the mind that you had before you came here. You had the angel mind. But now you'll be given a God mind. That's your reward for going through this 400 years of Holocaust. That's the angel. Same mind as the God mind. Because you've been raised to the level of gods. Now Master Muhammad, he came, right? He's a scientist. He's a 24th scientist, the highest ranking scientist, below the 25th scientist. He's not the 25th scientist. 25th scientist is the God. He has 360 degrees. Master Muhammad doesn't have 360 degrees. He told you because he said his father had to go to the other scientists and get their knowledge to teach him. That means his father did not have 360 degrees. Otherwise, he wouldn't have to go anywhere and get knowledge of anybody. So in order to complete Master Muhammad's education, he had to go and get knowledge beyond the knowledge he had. Mother scientists, and it cost him dearly. He said it cost him a lot of money to do that, if that's what they used. It cost him dearly to do it. In order to give me, like Master Muhammad, the tools he need, the wisdom he need to do the job he need to do. But he's the God that's going to set up to make all things new for this 6,000 year period we're entering into. We're in it now. We're in the spring thaw. The winter thaw. The winter phase was ruled by Dr. Yaqub, a major scientist. He said emotion. Now it's over. Now it's Master Muhammad's turn. He's going to bring a new reality altogether. 6,000 years. He won't be here the whole 6,000 years, but he's going to set it in motion. Like I said, you have 4 seasons. The earth takes approximately 24 to 25,000 years to complete a cold turn on this torque axis. And that comprises 4 seasons of 6,000 years: spring, summer, fall, and winter. We have come to the winter, the worst in history, and now when spring thaw, that's why Muhammad is the one in charge. But like I said, the 25th scientist, he rarely, if ever, takes control of one of those seasons. He's in the background. They always have to check with him. He certifies who's going to be, they discuss, and who's the best scientist equipped to rule that 6,000-year period. And Dr. Yaqub was the one, he came up with the best solution. The 25th scientists approved it, the making of Europeans. That bad water was better than no water. We talked about that previously. You can look into it, see what I'm talking about there. So he made a people that would, like I said in the Quran, he would be a new ruler in the earth, but he'd be a weak ruler because he made commission shed blood, but he would rule because we had no power to rule at that time, that 6,000 years. And like I said, bad water is better than no water. Make mission shed blood, but his time is over. And during that time, our minds would be removed from us because our situation became very, very extreme 600 years ago. We had absolutely no power. Our power started declining 50,000 years ago, and in the last 600 years, it was totally gone. No power at all. Didn't have enough energy to generate any power. But the Europeans had power because they was made in such a way that they didn't need as much energy as everyone else. So therefore, they had so-called disposable income, extra energy that they can convert into power. And they did that by following the guidance of the so-called Old Testament. As long as they followed that, that was the guidance showing them how to convert their energy into power. And when they diverted from that, right, they just stepped away from that, right? They declined from that. Their power declined. Their power failed, and ended up being in a bad condition, like the so-called Dark Age, the medieval period. That's in chapter 20. That's them going to the dark and bottomless pit for 1,000 years, where they deviated from their instructions. See, they're under the law, as the Bible said. They're under the law because they're alien to this creation. They're hybrid, right? They're alien to this creation. They was a special people, right? Made in haste, like it says, right? But they're out of sync with the creation. Because if you're in sync with creation, there's no need for law. Just like the lions, the tigers, the elephants, the birds, the bees, they're all in sync with the universe. They need no law because their nature is in sync with the universe. And our nature is in sync with the universe because we are the universe. But that's been made out of sync with the universe, just Negro butt creation. Because we're thinking outside, we're thinking out of tune with the universe, so therefore we're out of tune with the universe because we're thinking outside. We're thinking outside. We're thinking out. We're not in sync with the universe. Our thinking is not in sync with the universe. And it's the job of Suleiman to restore your thinking, restore your mind to be in sync with the universe. Once you're in sync with the universe, you don't need any guidance. You don't need any law. They do. But they're failing now because they deviated from the law that they was given. In addition to the fact that they're weak, they don't have the discipline to maintain their power anyway. Because the scripture, righteousness is just another word, it's a biblical word for discipline. They need discipline to obey the law. And so their discipline ratio is declining rapidly. They're deviating from the law, rapidly. The whole civilization is collapsing rapidly right before your eyes. But the angel, or revelations, or called the Gospels, that was sealed. Who sealed it? The one that broke the seals is the one that sealed it. If the scientists sealed, that means they'd be able to break it themselves, and they sealed it. And that's a very complicated subject there, brothers and sisters. It was sealed. Restore our minds back. And to lift us up to a greater, what would you call it? Upgrade our minds. Still the same operating system, just upgraded. That's the angel. Because you had an operating system like this before you came here, but it was a lower. It wasn't up to the level of angel. The angels are upgrade from angel to gods. But you have to study it. It's like Suleiman, he had to study it. Once he broke the seals, then that was the beginning of the process. Like first, before you can get to the gym, you have to get you got membership. When you get membership, then you're going and you start lifting weights. So you got to break the seals, right? You got to get into the gym to lift the weights. So you got to get into the angel to start studying it. But you had to break the seals to know what to start studying. But now you broke the seals. You understand how it works. Now the studying part comes in. And they don't want you doing anything going anywhere near that. Because they cannot. First of all, the Levites, right? That's, okay, we have 3 tribes. That's what we had 50,000 years ago. The tribe of Levites, that's our brothers and sisters in Africa that did not go through the Dr. Shabazz prescribed. Didn't go through that process. Emphasizing the spatial and de-emphasizing the analytical. Nor did they go through the process of Dr. Yaqub, but doing just the opposite. Emphasizing the analytical, de-emphasizing the spatial. So he produces his Europeans. And Dr. Shabazz produced us with the nappy hair and everything else, even though our brothers and sisters, because of intermingling and other factors, right, have similar characteristics. But the further you get away from the western coast of Africa, right, you get back to how we were originally, ambidextrous, look like the Ethiopians and Somalis. Because we was on the west coast of Africa. As you move interior, deeper, you start finding people look more and more like, right, Somalis or the Egyptians, or the Ethiopians with straight hair and more sharper, well, not sharper, but yeah, well, sharper features. Because we still on the west coast of Africa because we came from northern Africa, which is called Arabia. Arabia is part of Africa, the continent of Africa. It's the northern part. It was pushed out of there 50,000 years ago when the scientists disagreed with Dr. Shabazz's solution to the problem of energy deprivation. They disagreed with his solution. So he was pushed out. That's the other tribe, the Hindi tribe. The Hindi tribe pushed us out of there, and they took it over, and they pushed out. And the Hindi tribe, right, that's because Ishmael, the Arabs, right, they're a hybrid of the Hindi tribe and the Shabazz tribe. Because they are brothers. But their mother is from the Hindi tribe. She was a servant of Abraham. Abraham is what you call Dr. Shabazz. We from Sarah. She's the tribe of Shabazz. And Jay the one that received the blessing. Even though Ishmael was the oldest, but he wasn't going to get the inheritance. And we see this story plays out in Jacob and Sue, where Jacob stole Esau's identity and tricked his father to steal the blessing. So that means they got our land, they got all our stuff, pretend to be us. See? That's how they got it. It's not the first identity theft. We see identity theft now, false Israel. The first Ishmael was the first one to pull in identity theft. But they figured the inheritance should be theirs. And they sold us, they're the ones that sold us into slavery, into the hands of slavers, because they was envious. Because they said the inheritance should be theirs because they're the oldest son. But no, the oldest, Isaac will receive the inheritance because he's the son of Sarah and Abraham, where Ishmael was the son of Abraham's maiden, which was of the tribe of Hindi. So the Arabs are mixed breed. We're 100% of the tribe of Shabazz. They're like 50-50. And a lot of them have went further than that because they used to be dark. Now they're white. Many of them. You still have a lot of them as dark. Saddam Hussein wasn't that. He was pretty. He wasn't white, but he was. His hair wasn't that straight either. So all these things they don't want you to know. They don't want you to know these things. So they are brothers, half brothers. The Arabs are half brothers. You take Prophet Muhammad, for instance. He was from the Ishmael tradition, the Ishmael line. But he wasn't white, he was black. But they don't want you to know that. That's why they don't want you any pictures of him. Now ask yourself a question. Okay, we see no pictures of him. We'll buy that one. But why is there no description? There's nothing to say there could be a description of him. There's nothing to say that. You mean all the people around him, nobody wrote down and says, okay, he looks like this, he walks like this, he had this complexion. They talk about other things. They talk about, well, he couldn't read, he couldn't write, right? And all these things. But when it comes to his tone, his skin tone, they don't mention that at all. And why wouldn't that be mentioned? His features, why wouldn't that be mentioned? Because they don't want you to know he was black. That's why. See? Because then you ask questions, well, how did they get to be so white? Because that was one of the objections they had, their solution to energy deprivation. See? Just get circumcised like everybody else. The spiritual circumcision means to get rid of that black tone, that black foreskin. That's what it means, spiritual circumcision. You think it means the physical, when you do it to a child. No, they really talk about spiritual because it says you would not be successful unless you were circumcised. You think that means cutting the foreskin of a baby, a male baby? No. Some even try to send to women. No, because if you remove that black tone, that means you would not suffer energy deprivation. That's why Master Muhammad, he circumcised, he did not suffer energy deprivation. He was purposely set that way so he would not suffer energy deprivation, so he'd be powerful to do the job that he was required to do, that he needed to do. So we're not taking anything away from him, but his power is still original. We're not into skin tone here, brothers and sisters. Let them deal with that. Because you can be black as coal, still be a demon. You still be devil's children, master's children. You can be white as snow and still be original. Be of the tribe of Shabazz. You half original. Master Muhammad is half original. But his mother's the devil. He says it. He's not hiding it. He doesn't lie. But that was his purpose. So he would be able to do a job he needed to do. So this book was prepared, some say 50,000 years ago, some say 16,000 years ago. This book was prepared by the 25th scientist himself. For himself. And that's the problem. That's where the rub is, because he knows, and all the scientists know, that he's hurt by nature, and he really inclines to that nature. And it'd be very difficult for him to go, to do what they want him to do. Because they want him to come forward. Like Elijah Muhammad said, he stayed hidden in the background for 76 trillion years. Only people who knew who he was the other scientists, the other 24 scientists. He stayed in the background. He's a hermit by nature. Plus, there's all kinds of reasons for that. First of all, he didn't really mingle with the normal people, because who are they going to talk about? They can't talk about what he wants to talk about. When he wants to talk about, we can talk about the scientists, and that was limited to some extent. There's other reasons. So once the book was produced and certified, only he would be able to, because, I don't want to go too complicated here, brothers, because it sounds, you get too complicated, then it sounds like a lot of, garble. I'm not sure I'm using a correct word here, but like, engrams. And that's Scientology stuff. It's like a matrix of your mind. Everybody has a different mind matrix, the way they think. We all have the same. Or if you challenge bias, you can all run this operating system. Some operate it better, run it better than others. It's on your mind matrix. We'll have a similar mind matrix, but some is more complicated than others. Like you go out and you buy a laptop, right? You can buy $1,000 laptop, you can buy a $500 laptop. They both run with Windows, but one will run better than the other. So we could call it, I'm not calling it engram, because I've got to look at that word very carefully to make sure I use it right. And it sounds like Scientology. I just say a mind matrix. Right? It's like a blueprint of your mind. That's what the angel is. It's a blueprint of the 25th scientist's mind. Because he's the one that produced that book and certified it. Other scientists don't produce it, but he's the one that made the final touches to it. So it's a matrix of his mind, not theirs. And sealed. He sealed it. Because no one would be able to break it but him. Because it's based on his mind matrix, the way that he thinks. So in his iteration, iteration, that gets complicated right there. Okay? Because you're told by Elijah Muhammad that you only live once and that's it. He was talking about escalate these ways, talking about, but that's talking about the devils. That's talking about us. That's not, the Quran tells you that's not the case, because it says how you give life to the dead. And it says, take 4 birds, teach them to climb to you, right? 4 birds, that's the 2 pairs of chromosomes that you get. You get 2 from your mother, 2 from your father. That's the 4 birds. And teach them to climb to you means learn how to study them, learn how to control them. And then when you put them together, that's you again, your genetic code. See, they didn't know about genetics back then, genetic code and stuff. Because if you have the identical, that's you again. The only difference is now you got to restore your memories and things that you had, right? To seal the deal. And so it said that he knew his iteration, right? The book's prepared for his iteration. So he would be the only one, he himself, that's him again, would be the only one being able to unlock it. But he had concerns that his iteration during his time might not do it. That was Elijah Muhammad's concern. But he said the scientists was all concerned because they had no idea what 25th scientists would do this period of time. They had no idea. They said, because he could do whatever he wanted to do, because he knows exactly what would happen. He has 360 degrees. He could choose to do something different. And that's what they were concerned about. But nobody knew exactly what he would do. But he would follow exactly, because if he takes and changes the angel, he blinds himself because it's part of his foresight also. But he doesn't really need the angel to have foresight. He won't be as sharp as the angel, because the angel is very detailed. He gets in dates and things like that there. But he still would have enough. In other words, he would be like someone who's nearsighted, right? Don't have their glasses. They still see, just don't see that clearly. They still see. So he won't be blind. See? His vision just be a little dull. If he starts changing things. And they were concerned about that. Elijah Muhammad said they were concerned about it. And the God himself was concerned about his generation that he might, because he knows he's a hermit by nature. And he might decide not to come out into the open. He might decide not to come out into the open. I mean, he stayed here for 76 trillion years, but he's the only one that can restore our minds back. Because angel, that's why it's encoded in the angel. That's the mind matrix. And that's the restoration. That's what's required to restore our people's minds back. It's the only Suleiman Duka. First of all, he has to be the only one that could take and break the seals, because it's locked down. And he's the only one that could open that lock. So he could upload people's minds back to them. Upload it. Before you upload it, like you buy software, you have to open the package first, right? And you got a key, you got to put in the key to make sure it's you and all that kind of stuff. There was concerns there, some concerns. But they know that what was required of the 25th scientist is something that goes against his nature. He's a hermit by nature. Now he's got to come out and be a public figure. And he's got to be preaching in a graveyard. He's got to raise Lazarus. Elijah Muhammad could not raise Lazarus. He raised the widow's son, or Levites. And that's what the lessons were. The lessons were the mind for them. The lessons come from the mind. It's like the mind matrix of Master Prophet Muhammad. That's the lessons. And so they were supposed to raise Elijah Muhammad. We're supposed to raise him up to the mindset of Master Prophet Muhammad. And it failed because they didn't study, and they allowed Farrakhan Legion, the chief demon, to take it snatched away from them. As soon as Elijah Muhammad departed, he snatched away from them. They declined. They're not walking around with Master Prophet Muhammad's mind now. They're not walking around his mind. They claim they were Elijah Muhammad. They're not walking around Elijah Muhammad's mind. They're going to tell you that Master Black Man is the mind of Black Man. Master Black Man is that mind? Really? Lessons. But you don't hear them talk about the lessons, do you? They didn't study them. Now I know what those lessons mean. I can break it down for them. I'm going to have to. Because they cannot upload the angel. The tribe of Levites, that's why it says Christ did not want John's followers, because he knew they could not upload the angel. They couldn't upload it. They don't have the mind for it. Remember, they have a different mindset. And most of them are ambidextrous minds anyway. Almost all of them. They came through slavery with us. They didn't go through the same process of Dr. Shabazz, right? They emphasize the spatial and de-emphasize the analytical, until now we about 90% spatial and 10% analytical. They're still ambidextrous. They're still pretty much 50-50. They cannot upload the angel. They cannot upload it. But they can upload the teachings that Master Muhammad gave them. They can upload that. But they have they've rejected it, because Farrakhan deceived them with Scientology and Sunnism and everything else. Hope you understand that, brothers and sisters. So when you study the angel, you realize, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, that only the tribe of Shabazz can upload the angel. Let me just show that right now for you. One brother and sister here. There it is. Okay, well, let me see it, do it this way. Okay, see it, brothers and sisters, I'm going to read this for you. And I saw, and look, and this is transliteral, so the wording is not smooth as King James Version, but it's accurate, because the King James Version is interpretive. That means when they tried to translate it, they took the words from the original text they was working from, and they looked at it and tried to study, try to figure out what it means, and then they translate their ideas, their understanding into translation, which is wrong. Transliteral means they just take a word and translate the word. They don't put their biases, their interpretation, anything in any word, change the word. So therefore, when you do that, because languages have different melodies, different rhythms, things like that there, it sounds a little quirky. So bear with me, brothers and sisters. This is transliteral. The best transliteral that I've seen for free is the one Jehovah's Witnesses have. Okay, and I saw and look, the Lamb having stood upon the mountain Zion, with it 144,000, and the name of him and the name of the Father of him had been written upon the foreheads of them. I heard a voice out of heaven as voice of waters many, and his voice thunder great, and the voice I heard as harpers harping in the harps of them. And they were singing a song new inside the throne, inside of four living, and an older person, and no one was able to learn that song, but not 144,000 that haven't been brought from the earth. These are who with women not polluted. So they weren't polluted by a woman, but women. About America, Babylon, the woman, right? And virgins they are. These following to the Lamb, they are likely, because they follow the Lamb, and is going. In other words, they follow the Lamb wherever he goes. These are brought from the men, first fruits of the garden to the Lamb. The mouth of them was not found lie, blemish, unblemished they are. In other words, they're the resurrected. They're Lazarus, and they're pure gold. In the Lamb's Book of Life, it says no one. They got the angel. They upload the angel. No one could understand it but them. No one could upload the angel but them. No one could upload the angel but them. Read it carefully. That's what that means, brothers and sisters. Let's go on, move on here, back here. Okay, brothers and sisters. Well, and no one could understand the angel but them. Tribe of Levites not be able to do it. Tribe of Hindis not going to be able to do it. Only them. The only one could give it the angel for them to upload would be Suleiman. That was concerned Well, he would step outside to do it. Because he's the only one that could do it. So Elijah couldn't do it. Master Muhammad couldn't do it. The only one could do it. It says no one in heavens and earth, no under the earth could do it. So his job is to restore your minds. And once your mind's restored, right, then you return home to your God, the God in this season, Master Muhammad, you be under his control. But you'll be back with your God, return with your God mind. That's the angel. So you're going to upload it pretty soon. Because Master Muhammad is going to short circuit your programming. He's going to put a greater fear than the fear they have put, but it's going to short circuit your programming. It's going to shut it down, it's going to crash. And then you're going to be restored back to factory conditions, and then it says, what software should I install? Get to where that wizard come on. That's okay. So software is like a lion. A deer. See, the heart knows fear. The mind does not know fear. Right now, they have this. They have deactivated your mind. They got a mind set. Like I said, they give you a mind against yourself. Operating system they programmed, they built and installed on your mind, installed in your brain. And that software, right, it's tuned into your heart. That's what you do. Because everything you do is based on your emotions. Your beliefs and everything is based on your emotions, not based on your mind. Because they don't want you to think. You're not supposed to think. You're not supposed to ask questions. You're supposed to feel, obey. And they want to get you in the heart zone because the heart knows fear. The mind does not know fear. So they can keep you under fear. Because if you go from the heart mind zone, if you go from the heart zone to the mind zone, they can't get fear in you. They cannot terrorize you. Because if your mind is fearless, your mind does not know fear. It's your heart that knows fear. And that's why they keep you in the fear zone. You go to church, it's all about emotions. Everything is all about emotions. They keep you in a heart zone. They can keep fear. And that fears will keep you programmed. And I said before, that program will run because it doesn't normally run on your hardware. But that's what it needs, that fear to keep it installed. They got to keep you away from the mind zone because if this gets into your mind, you reject all this stuff. Reject Christianity because it doesn't make any sense. Reject all this stuff. All these lies they're telling you, slavery, it was a Holocaust. All these things will reject. Your mind will reject it. But your heart accepts it. And you got fear to reinforce it. Because fear is going to keep you from going and deviating, right, from whatever programming they got on your mind that's controlled by your heart. Your heart is controlling you. You're controlled by your emotions. You're not controlled by your mind. That's what I say you'll be on a beast level. That's what it says. It says in a beast level. And Mark says you're attacking yourself. You're self-destructive. And Daniel, it says that you're on a beast level because you're on a heart level. It even in some translations says that a human heart had to be given back to you. I'm trying to explain this thing to you, brothers and sisters. So you're under attack in every direction. I'm not going to that in detail here, but you're under attack in every direction, every elevated place. Enemies, you got the demons. They look like you. They're your hidden enemy. They're the worst ones we got to deal with right now. But the 17 million of them, half the blacks are them, and they're all against you. And you're in love with some of them. They're on the news, right? They're politicians. They're the actors, right? They're sports figures, rich and famous. They're all demons because they're in Master's house. And they run in Master's program, so they're successful in Master's environment, in Master's reality. You cannot be successful in Master's reality because, first of all, if your natural program is totally against it, so your natural program will be totally adverse to this reality, and you'll be getting the hell out of here. But the program they gave you, right, is tell you that you cannot be successful in the program that you have installed. You're not successful because you're not supposed to be. You're supposed to just obey. You're supposed to be a Negro butt. Robots are not designed to be successful. They're designed to work. Either way, you will not be successful, but they will because they have the operating system that fits into this reality, and so they're successful in it. Some are very successful, like Oprah and so forth. They're very successful in it because they're all demons. And you don't want to hear that, but that's the fact. And you sitting around there in the ghetto somewhere, right? Barely paying your rent, work for McDonald's, and they got you thinking that one day you're gonna be like them. You ain't gonna never be like them. You're gonna never get in Master's house. When you was chained down in the fields, that was the incentive. Oh man, you work hard, you pick more bills and everything else. You could work in the house one day. They know they was never gonna let you work in the house ever, but they couldn't trust you. They could trust their own children, not trust you. The lying preachers, all of them. They're not telling you about Abrahamic covenant because it doesn't apply to them. It applies to you. They're envious. They're envious that it does apply to you, and they know that if you are left unguarded, that you return to that Abrahamic covenant, learn about it, and then you realize the benefits from it, the reward, which they would never build. That you go in a land of milk and honey while they burn up in the fires of hell, but that's their future. But right now they got you in hell, and they got you turning gold into, they got you turning shit into gold, and they taking the gold that you turn from the shit they gave you, and they turn that gold back into shit and give it back to you. It's a symbiotic relationship. It's perfect for them. It's like recycling. See? Gold is shit, shit to gold, gold is shit, shit to gold, right? You the slave, you out there, you turning shit to gold, and you making mansions and beautiful food, and beautiful landscape and everything for them. They eating good food and everything else. And what they giving you back? They giving you shillings. They giving you a shack. Right? You can't even have a intimate relationship with your own women. They take your children away if you even have any. They beat you, starve you. See? And so they giving you shit back, and they expect you to go out and turn that shit into gold, and you give it back to them, and they got nice mansions, nice food, and everything else. And you eating shit. You know shillings is shit. That's what it is. They just change the S to secret. That's what they think of you. Think you just so damn stupid, right? That when you don't have to eat shit, you still eat it. And many of you do. Oh man, those shillings are good. I can't eat Aunt Sarah's shillings because she don't clean that. You can't clean shit. But see how you got your program? You don't even see that. You walk around with their names, you don't see that. You don't see any of it because it's not your fault. That's your design, your program. And that's why Master Muhammad has to help me by short-circuiting your programming so I can upload your mind back to you. Put you back to factory standards so I can upload your mind back to you. And that's going to happen overnight. So when a nation be born in a day, who ever heard such a thing? You be born in a day because as soon as your programming, that great fear, because once your heart is paralyzed with fear, then it looks to the mind what to do. And that's why Muhammad is getting ready to put great fear upon you. It says it in chapter 11. See? When they stood upon their feet, that's that war in the Middle East about to take place. They stand upon their feet, that means they defeated Gog and Magog, America, Britain, and the Antichrist falls to Israel. They will send shockwaves to the world. Great fear. It says great fear will come upon, men's hearts be failing for fear. Men's hearts be failing for fear as those things come upon the earth because the powers of heaven will be shaken. That means the heaven is Middle East because it couldn't be someplace that's beyond the sun, moon, stars. How would they see it? How would they know the powers are shaken if it's someplace beyond their comprehension? It's Middle East. And who has the power in the Middle East? Gog, Magog, and Antichrist. America, Britain, and false Israel. And that power of the shit means it's broken. It means they got about to go to war. This will happen any day now. They go to war. They're going to be defeated. False Israel is going to be, American Britain going to be kicked out. And then people say, how can that happen? How can Iran kick out American Britain like that? Defeat them so soundly like they did. And then how in the world can false Israel go down if they defeat Abraham? Because that's impossible. Because Scripture say once they return, they can never be removed. And now they're removed. That's the abomination of desolation. Because sending shockwaves to the world, and it's going to prove to the world that you're the true seed of Abraham, which is going to be very detrimental for you in the very immediate, when that realization comes about. If you don't understand this about what I'm telling you about the industry, you better pay attention, because you may not believe it, but at least put it in the back of your mind, because like I said, when that great fear comes, that's when your heart calls to the mind, and if the mind doesn't know what to do, then it stands to get run over like a deer in the headlight. Because I'm telling you what to do. Because great fear, because these people are going to try to annihilate you. Because once it says, when the envier envies, when they realize that false Israel was a lie, the evangelical, some of them know it already. But when the general public know instantly, because that's something that's something to be known universally. Because universally, everybody thinks that knows anything about this, think that false Israel cannot be destroyed. It's the truth of Abraham. And when it goes down, it's going to be shockwaves to the world. And the shockwave to Christianity, because that their whole hope is based on false Israel being the true seed of Abraham. And when it doesn't happen, and that Jesus doesn't come and save them, that's going to be a shock through their core. It's going to be disability. It's going to paralyze their minds and their hearts, because the instant realization is that you must be a true seed of Abraham, because you have the credentials. And that means all the hell they're going through at that particular time, because at that time when that happens, they're going to be going through hell. They'll be at war in Europe. They've been betrayed by NATO, who's going to turn on them. I'm not going to go to specifics, right? They'll have insurrection going on in America when false Israel goes down. First, American Britain's going to be kicked out, and false Israel is going to be on the siege, and it's going to be on the siege for some time, maybe a week, 2, 3 weeks. It's going to be enough for them to start eating each other. That's what the scriptures tell you. And that's when everybody's going to be transfixed, looking. The whole world's focus is going to be on false Israel, false in the Middle East. Everybody's focus is going to be on the Middle East, because false Israel is under siege now, and America and Britain cannot help them. The whole world's focus would be on the Middle East. You understand? The whole world, your focus, the evangelical, everybody, because their whole Christianity is based on, when that happens, that means when they down their final hour, that means they're going to call on Jesus, the Jews, right? And that's Jesus going to hear them, because he's the chosen people. Then they're going to call him, they're going to convert, and then he's going to come, and he's going to destroy the Hindu, the Sunnis, and the Arabs, and everybody, right? And then he's going to go out and tear down the nations and everything for the sake of his holy chosen people. That's the story they tell everybody. So everybody's going to be transfixed when that happens, because they're waiting. And you're going to have some people rejoicing. Oh, man. It tells you in Exodus that the Christian blacks going to be rejoicing, because they think the same thing as Master. Man, oh, man, now Jesus is getting ready to return, because that's the sign. False Israel is under attack, and he's not going to let them be destroyed, because when they return, they're not supposed to be destroyed ever. They're not be uprooted. So that's their hope. That's their belief. It's in their system. It's right in their bones and marrow. That, man, that's it. Finally, Jesus is about to return. He's going to save his special people. They're going to because they rejected Jesus, but now they're going to embrace Jesus. And now he's going to go and kick the world in the ass. And we're going into the hereafter. And we're going to have heaven and milk and honey and all that. That's their hope. That's what they believe. It's right in their marrow. It's right deep in their core. It's in their DNA. It's about to be transfixed when they're under siege for a week or 2 weeks, however long it takes. It's going to be more than a week, because they're going to be, they're going to be totally siege. They can't, no food coming out. So they're going to start eating each other. So it's going to be a while. It's going to be maybe 2 or 3 weeks, maybe even a month. And everybody, the whole world's eyes going to be transfixed on that. And American Britain's going to not be able to get back in there. And that's noticed because American Britain during that time, they could be at war in Europe. They could be in war in Europe, because they're going to blame, wrongly, to some extent, correctly, that Russia is the reason why they lost the war against Iran and Syria. Because you see how this thing's playing out? Right now, America's backing Ukraine to the hilt with all kinds of weapons to help Ukraine to defeat America. So Russia's going to they're going to return the favor when they go to war with Iran, because they're going to help Iran, right? The same way America's helping Ukraine. See? And so, but that's not going to be the reason why they defeat them. They're going to defeat them because Master Muhammad is going to be on the scene. Because it says Michael and his angels. Michael's Master Muhammad. They don't even tell you that Michael's Master Muhammad. And you never heard Farrakhan say, they don't know. But Master Muhammad's the one that's going to deliver us. But they say we ain't going anywhere, so we don't need to deliver. So that's why I don't need to talk about talk about Michael, because they say we ain't going nowhere. So what we need to deliver for? Because if Michael's going to deliver us, that means deliver us to where if we ain't going anywhere? But he's Master Farad Muhammad. And so he's going to be, that's why they're going to be explaining how the Air Force and everything got taken out. They're going to blame Russia because they can't tell the people that what's really going on. So now they're at war over in Europe with Russia. They're in war over there with Russia during the time False Israel under siege. And then I'm going to go a little bit in detail here, and then I'm going to close this out, brothers and sisters. Then they go in war with Russia. But right now, as I've been telling you for years, read chapter 18. What happens is that Europe, right, Western Europe, Russia is considered Eastern Europe, Western Europe, France, Germany, and the like, right? They're totally dependent upon oil from the Middle East and from Russia. Think about that. But now the Middle East is cut off because they assisted America and Britain in their war with Iran. So now Iranians have total control of the Middle East, total control. They chased House Assad. They're going in, took as much money as they can. They ran back to India. Remember I told you, they're really from India. And so they have total control of all everything. So Europe is cut off. Western Europe is cut off. The only access they have is Russia. But they're at war with Russia on America's side. And America, so the only oil they can get is from America. America can't give them any oil. They say we need it. We need reserves for ourselves. We're at war. If they could, it still will not work because they can't deliver by plane. They have to deliver by boat, and they can't deliver enough by boat to solve the European. That's why chapter 18 says their economy collapses immediately. The economy collapses because they don't have any access to oil. The only access they have is to Russia. So now, and America can't supply. Even if they wanted to, they couldn't supply them enough to alleviate the situation. Because they have to go by boat, and it takes a while to get there. And then plus, how much can they send? And then you got Russian interference because they're not going to let them give Europe oil so they can help fight them. So the Europeans have no choice. Either just totally collapse and go to oblivion, or turn against America and Russia's behalf, so Russia can keep fueling them with oil. And what you think the population is going to go? Because most of them, you see already, Germany particularly, they kind of like stand off. They don't want to get involved in this mess with Ukraine and America. See? So they're going to look out for their population. So now they're going to turn on America in order so the economy can come back because their economy is totally collapsed. And so now America's betrayed. So all your love is going to leave you, abandon you. So now they're at war there. They get their ass kicked. They're betrayed. So you got all that going there. You got total insurrection here in America between the Christian blacks and demons. You got race war going on here, right? You got all that confusion. Just that the original nation just came together and they pushed out the demons. That was it. They were coming together, and then they were harvesting chaff and wheat together, and then they separated the chaff out. It shows that in Exodus, where when Moses and Joshua returned, right, they separate all the Aaron's followers out from Elijah's followers or Joshua's followers. Separate them all out, and they destroyed all the Aaron's followers, including Aaron. So all that's going on while false Israel was under siege. So everybody's saying, "Oh man, America's being torn apart in every direction, and the only hope is now that Jesus is about to return." You understand the climate? Because false Israel, and that's they've been telling everybody when false Israel is about or just about to be destroyed, and they finally call on Jesus, then Jesus is going to come and save them and all other stuff and wipe out everybody else and go to war in the world. See, so that's what they're hoping. They see all this disaster, but that's their hope that it's going to work out. That Jesus will come and save us, clean all this, straighten all this stuff out. And they fixated on there. They talking about man, and they're like a lot of blacks. They so They rejoicing because they know, man, now, see, we're going to finally get the Muslims or Jesus, because they see, remember, these are demons. And they've been at odds with us ever since from the very beginning, but they look like us, but they ain't us. And now we're going to see Jesus about to come back. Now we're going to see the Muslims, man. They talking that crap, man. I talk that crap, see? But now Jesus about to come back and whoop their ass, see? Because, see, it's about to happen because false is under siege. See, they rejoicing, man. They said, man, I can't wait, man. See, they got a different reaction than the whites have. See, they rejoicing. See, they say, hey, man, see, we told you. See, because they ain't doing that, man. It's dark, man. But look, the darkest part of the night is just before dawn, man. Look, they really under trouble. But that means that the more trouble they get over there, that means that's closer to Jesus going to return, because Jesus going to return before they destroy it. They forget about the passage says, when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, no, its destruction is near. They forget about that part, because Jerusalem is the capital of false Israel. It's controlled by false Israel, but they forget about that one. But they rejoice, and that's what it says. And when Moses and Joshua returned, there was a sign of war in the camp, a sign of victory. It wasn't a sign of victory or defeat. That means the war was going on. It hadn't been defeated yet. It hadn't been victorious yet. That's what it's talking about. So the war is going on, and that's their hope. So both the demons and the devils both had the same hope, but they have different responses, though. One's jubilant response, the other one's curious. They're sitting there transfixed. See? It's waiting. And then false Israel is gone. Shockwaves. Paralyzed. Comatose. What the F happened? Jesus didn't return. All of a sudden, shock. The shock of the hour. It takes 1 second, that much, to realize that because during that time, Suleiman is going to be says, this gospel will reach all the world, then the end will come. So that's during that time that's happening. See? And so they laughing at him. Oh, yeah, okay, you preach all that stuff you want to, man. Yeah, you preach. We're gonna your ass, because you the son of perdition. And as soon as Jesus take them down over there, as soon as Jesus come back, he's gonna first tear your ass up. See, that's what they're thinking. So they hearing the truth, but they denying it. See, so you see what's on their mind? Right now in their mind, they're under extreme stress. The Europeans, they're under extreme stress because they're nervous. They watching. But the Christian blacks, they jubilant. See? They watching too, but they jubilant because they have more high, because they got a little bit of our blood in them. So they got a little, right? They're a little more jubilant. They're nervous. The Europeans are very nervous, right? Remember that thing it says the man's heart be failing for fear of those things come upon earth, because the powers of heaven be shaken, right? See, that's still talking about Europeans. So their hearts are failing in anticipation of what might happen. See, because America and Britain's kicked out. And so now false Israel under siege, and their hearts are failing for fear on that one, because they're not, they're more anxious than other Caucasians, other Caucasians. They tight, and they watching, they're nervous. But the other one, because now they realize, hey man, they can't take it. And that's just in anticipation. What do you think their hearts are going to do when the reality sinks in? I'm trying to give you a scenario of how the world's going to look. And everybody's whole world's transfixed on what's happening over in the Middle East. And then you got, but during the time, right, still got the war going on in Europe. America's getting killed. They're being betrayed. You got insurrection going here in America, right? See? And now you got China and India rising because the Europeans are tearing themselves apart. So now China and India becoming superpowers. That's what it says. The dragon gave his authority to the beast. The beast was just like the dragon, had 7 heads and 10 horns. But the 7 heads had crowns, that's Europeans, but then the crowns were transformed to the beast who had crowns upon his horns. That's China and India. Now they're rising in their power. That's another problem. Because everybody's nervous because now China and India is making noises. In India, right, they was an American ally, but now they're making caresses towards China. And China is in support of Russia. And now they see this going over, they see them building up, and they're pushing, right, Taiwan, they're pushing and they're building up and they're building their forces, right, towards in the Pacific. And that's making America nervous. And meanwhile, they over here bogged down in Europe in this war. That's the war of Armageddon. And they have all these plagues. That's the 9 plagues they talk about in Exodus. That the Armageddon is the 9 plagues. They being hit with these 9 plagues. The economy over in America is shaking, right? They've been betrayed by the enemies, by their friends over in Europe. So all this stuff is going on. Then they got insurrection going here, and then you got all kinds of stuff going here. But then what they hate, what they was worried about the most. Remember, it says they was worried about true Israel. Said they want abortion and everything because they say they might a war might break out, and they might side with the enemy and help fight with the enemy. Help the enemy, and then depart from the land. Their greatest fears realized because now the nation just rose up, and then you got Suleiman tell them on all, he's because he got a voice. This everybody's listening on. He got a universal voice now. He's telling them what's about to happen, and that's making people nervous because what if he's right? See, that's why men's heart fell to fear because he may be right because he's making sense, and their hearts fell because if he's right, we're in trouble because we ain't gonna come out of this. So all this stuff is going on at the same time. While false Israel is right there, still under siege. So China and India's moving in. They're building their force up in the Pacific. They're being destroyed over in Russia, and they also got conflict in America because they want to draft a lot of black folks. See, remember a lot of Christian blacks, right? See, remember the original nation coming together, but they separate the Christian blacks out. The demons separate out, and now help them get them to help fight over in Russia, and a lot of them going to go crazy like this Black Lives Matter thing, and they're going to be in resurrection. They're going to fight. They ain't going to do it. And the government got conflict with them because they tearing the country apart and everything else because they say I'm not going over there and fight. So America's all this trouble in one. It says all this trouble will come upon Babylon in 1 year. One day meaning 1 year. So they got all this stuff. It's overwhelming. Then they got a senile man running it. Scared to get rid of him because they don't want that Indian woman because she's crazier than him. She ain't senile, but it's crazy. And all this while false Israel is sitting there under siege, and now the result of cannibalism. And that's going to really, that's going to be the first shock. When people found they were in cannibalism. And that's that bad. Jesus hadn't come back yet. And then finally they go down. Big shockwave, big boom. Shockwave like you would believe. Because everybody was transfixed on that, and it happened not the way they wanted. It happened just the opposite. And Suleiman already told them who the true seed of Abraham is. So now the focus come on us. They eradicate us because they realize that what he's been telling them, Exodus and everything else, that all this stuff happening to them is because of us. Because of us. That's what the 9 plagues was about, right? Because of us. To force them to let us go. And so what would you do? So that's why it says flee immediately. You ain't fleeing from the police. You're not fleeing from the army because it takes a while for them to get to you and have to go to every black all over the country. I have enough people for that. It's your next door neighbor, the evangelicals, because the word will go out that we're true to Abraham. When the envy envies that we're going to heaven, that they've been all the stuff they've been doing us, they're paying for it now. God's coming to get them. It's all because of us. Because first we stood by Pharaoh. First he let his people go, then he changed minds, tried to kill them. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. But at that time, you will have your God mind back. And those of you, because many will be lost for lack of knowledge. But those of you that come together, get your God mind back, you will be delivered. You won't be here. You won't hear the faintest sounds of raging ruins of hell. You'll be in Master Muhammad's fortress up there. You had a box office seat to watch your enemies being destroyed. You won't be here. But this Elijah's followers, right, the Levites, they will be. They're going to tribulation. Read Mark. When he left, When Jesus left, he said, no, you can't come with me. You got to go back because you allowed yourself to be deceived after you was taught so clearly by Muhammad, by that lying Farrakhan Legion. Louis Eugene grounds the NOI backwards. You can't make it up. He want to argue about the G. His name is Louis Eugene. You want to argue about the G part. What about the NOI backwards? That's exactly what he's done. I'm not going to argue with him. I don't waste time because he's true. We're not talking about years no more. We're talking about days away, bro. We're talking about this year. Absolutely. That's what's happening, brothers and sisters. But it's my job to get you that God mind back. Not that I don't want to do it. I said, I love my people. I want to do it. It's just that, it's against my nature to be doing what I'm doing right now because I'm not, anybody that knows me, that really knows me, I don't do any much talk. I've done more talking, doing this in my whole life. I've always been a hermit. I never had any cut buddies. I never had partners when I was growing up. So I was a loner. I prefer just being in the library studying. This is very difficult for me. You might not realize, but it is. But it's my people need me. That's why I decided to set this thing up. Because I didn't know what I was getting into. Remember, I had to get my mind back. Because when I study angel, I'm reviving my mind back. Because under Elijah, I had the mind of the Levite. Under Elijah, I got the mind of the Levite. See, I was studying the lesson, I got the mind of the Levite. Then breaking the seals, I started getting my mind back. And realize who I am and my mission. And I had to take and make that consistent, square that circle with my nature, who I am. I had to really retransform myself, brothers and sisters. I had to be a major transformation to do this job. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. Got to give you a scenario. This is on the horizon. It's happening before your eyes right now anyway. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. Okay, I'm going to close out here. I got to cover everything I wanted to cover here. Let me check one thing. I had a couple of notes here. The Farrakhan, the chief demon, he's toast. Oh, one other thing they said, I talked about the mystery of God in the previous one for today. It says that was revealed just before the four winds blow when a nation, so that shows you how close we are. Because that would be revealed just before. It says in the days that the seventh angel is about to trumpet, right? And when seventh angel trumpet, that means that's the four winds. Read it. That's the four trumpets, the four winds they blow. So that means that's at that time in Ezekiel, remember? That's when the resurrection took place, but when the four winds blew. That means it's happening, about to happen right now. That's what that means. But the other thing it says when they say peace and safety, sudden destruction. So what is that about? What is going to happen? Some people say it's already occurred with the Abrahamic Accords. Some people say they have all different. I'm not going to speak to it directly. Like I said, what I'm saying to you, I'm saying to them. I got to be fair. I said a lot already, but I will promise you. I told you as we got close to the end, I'll make things clearer and clearer and clearer. See, but it says when they say peace. So what do they mean? They mean that. See, you can look at that two ways. One way you can say is when they say peace and safety. That means when they're concerned about peace and safety. Their destruction comes suddenly upon them. When they say peace and safety, it doesn't say it's either way. When they say peace and safety, when they're concerned about their peace and safety, that means false Israel, could be false Israel is concerned now. They're worried about losing, about being destroyed. When they say peace and safety, then sudden destruction comes upon them and they will not escape. Or you can look at another way. That they make some kind of agreement, right? Where they think that agreement is going to bring peace and safety up. See? And then it doesn't, it brings destruction. So there's two ways you can look at that, and I always tell you, pay close attention to those words, and but you also have the sealed version, unsealed version. You have to be very careful with words, so consider it. Think about it. Either way, we're going to see one of those two ideas in a few days. Well, they're going, because what breaks out, you can see it right there, because when false Israel and when American British kicked out, the false Israel isolated, they'd be saying, man, we need peace and safety. We need help, see? It could be that way. See? Or they could make some agreement, right? When they think that Iran is an isolated or whatever, make some agreement with Russia, whatever, right? And they think, oh, now, man, we're going to have peace and safety. It doesn't say which one it is. But we know it's got to be one or the other, unless you have a third alternative that's going to happen very soon, before false Israel is destroyed. And so that gives you a little more information, because remember, it's going to take a while before, when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, put that together, its destruction is near. But it says sudden destruction. So if you take that path, right, see, that means it's a second alternative. That means they're under siege and they're about to be destroyed. And just before they're about to destroy it, right, then they call out for peace and safety. See, maybe they say, please, we'll leave the Middle East or whatever. We'll do anything, whatever. Think about it, brothers and sisters. I'm going to leave it there. I think that's it. Well, finally, you hear lying Ishmael. They always lying all the time. They lie. Say, Farrakhan is going to take us through all of this. In other words, we're not going anywhere. But Farrakhan, because he's got strong legs and strong back, the man can't even walk. I don't even call him a man. He's disemboweled. He's pissing shit in the bag. But he got strong back. He's going to get us through all this shit, because we're going to go through all this crap in America. We're going to stay here. We ain't going anywhere. And we're going to bring us all through this. And then somehow we're going to come out, and we're going to be, I don't know what's going to be after all this over with, because based on him, all this has to blow over, because we're going to still be here in America. America could still be here, right? According to him. And so one day we're going to take over America. It makes no sense at all. But it doesn't have to, because he's done. Like I said, we're only days away from what I'm telling you about, brothers and sisters. Hope you understand. And the two witnesses are not Elijah and Farrakhan. If you read chapter 11, you can never come to that conclusion. That's Syria and Iran. Hope you understand, brothers and sisters. I'm going to leave it there. Okay, to my audio audience, thank you for listening. Appreciate your attention. This is the Black Alert section. The Fire Zone. Fire Zone out. And to my audio audience, thank you for listening. A second here. Remember the Holocaust. Don't forget it. Let them keep talking about some slavery stuff. This is the Resurrected Nation of Islam. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.